Okay guys, this is going to be a really quick video on how to lay out and how to create a ribbon slash banner slash flag. So this is actually a really simple process, but it's something that with practice and a little creativity can be super incredible. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to create a top line. So step one in this process right here is going to be top line. I don't write create because it's just a step, so we're not going to write that. Now, the way that the top line works is I always want you to keep in mind a U-turn, or like the letter U. It's going to be going back and forth and back and forth. So when we create a top line, we want to create a long kind of flowing top line like this. So one of the things I like to do is to start out around the perimeter of the paper or of the shape, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to create my top line. It's going to spin back. At this point, I'm not going to go all the way back out to the beginning. This is kind of the off limits area now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to curl back around from that same line here. I might bend up, I might bend down, I may curl back in this direction, I may come back over here and here. But notice each one of these turns all U's back on itself. U-turns. It's all like the letter U. There's a U there. There's a U here. So they all turn back on itself. So what we do is we're illustrating the turn or the fold or the bend of like a ribbon or a banner or really any kind of cloth. Okay? So I'm going to pause the video here and I want you guys to draw some top lines. Probably something a little less complicated than this in the beginning. Something that could look very much just like this. So we've got a top line here. U turns back. Next line comes. U turns back. Next line's here. So that's just a really simple one. And again, we want to finish and start outside of our initial turns. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video and then I want you guys to go ahead and do that, and then I'll walk around and check. Oh, BKB, we are back. Now I have checked all of your papers. We've looked at them. We've talked about a couple things here and there. Maybe we've added this. Once we've got past the top line, step number 2 is going to be draw vertical lines. Okay, so I'm going to abbreviate that with vert and then lines. Okay, so vertical lines are going to come down from all of your either ends or the bottoms of our U's. Okay, so you could call it all kind of the terminal part in the turn or in the fold or whatever it is, but they're coming down from there. So illustrated very simply, this is the end of my ribbon, this is the beginning of my ribbon. Now here's the trick, is that these lines should be very, very close to the same length, or as the ribbon moves forward, they can get longer. That's going to help with a concept called foreshortening that we're going to talk more about later. So these lines should either be the same size or get bigger as the ribbon comes forward and smaller as the ribbon goes back. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that's the end lines, and then I'm going to do it from the turns in my U. Now with these lines, what I'm doing is I'm actually angling my line in a little bit. This is just a flare that I like to add in to my ribbons. So I'm going to go and I've got a turn, there's a line, a turn, there's another line. This is just a bend. We wouldn't draw a line down from here. Now if this ribbon was here and then it bent back like this, here, we would have drawn those from there, but just because this just bends up, this is just going to give a slightly three-dimensional effect, nothing more. So then we go back here, we got a bend here, I got a line, I got a bend here, that's a line, I've got this here, there's a line, I've got this here, a line, and I'm finished. So that's the end of my line. What I want to do is I'm going to pause the video and then I want to walk around and I want to look at all of the rest of your vertical lines. Then we're going to move on to the last step. Okay guys, video's paused, or unpaused now I guess I should say. It's time to start rocking and rolling now on the third step. And this is the part that if you don't quite see the ribbon coming together on this third step, it always comes together. So now we just want to have the bottom line. okay, and bottom line, but this really is the bottom line of it all. This is it, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a parallel line to my top line now, and when it hits the ribbon in the foreground, I terminate the line stops. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the way that this line goes, and I'm going to create this. It's going to stop once it gets to this point. It's terminal, it stops, it's over. And then I want to look at the distance. I probably would not see the back edge here, so I'm not going to draw it. And now I'm going to go right back to here. I'm going to make sure that I've got a nice height, and now I'm going to then follow. Now watch me bend up, but we hit the ribbon here, so we stop. Probably not going to see a whole lot at this point. I might see at this point something like the back of my ribbon would be here. This might come up. I might see a very small amount of my curve there, so I'm going to draw it in. And then here I'm running parallel again, and then back up to there. So I've got this ribbon. You can kind of begin to see the three-dimensional effect. Now I'm going to flip it over to that more simple ribbon that we did a second ago. I've already drawn my top line. Here comes my sides. I'm going to make these sides just a little bit shorter, and this is going to appear to make my ribbon thinner. So now we're going to go up here, and I'm going to do this, the last step, which is to draw parallel lines. Ooh, that one was kind of ugly. We'll fix that. Down and then back up, and then here and back up to there. So then that's this one. All right, now where it gets really interesting is when I'm doing this, I'm going to grab an eraser here and just kind of clean that spot up a little bit there. That was my bad. Now where we get interesting here is because I made my line shorter, it made my ribbons seem thinner. But if I made my lines longer, and again, because they hit the ribbon, they terminate. If I make my line longer, and then I just create that last step, like this, I can begin to add a series of parallel lines. And it doesn't take a scholar to envision something like this as it could be as an American flag or just a striped banner, especially if I took this part here, got rid of that, and then drew in, and you can see stars over here like that. And now with a little bit of color and a little bit more concern about the stars, we've got the old stars and stripes here, our grand old flag. So this concept, again, we have our first line, upside down. Our first line is our top line, second line is our vertical lines, third line is our bottom line. If you follow these steps, you should be able to complete a really cool looking banner. Or ribbon or flag or whatever it may be. These are just little embellishments that you can add on all kinds of drawings all the time.